If you don't have the conversation, you're destroying the relationship permanently, because the level of resentment that's going to build up on both sides will be so high that there's no coming back from that. It's, pardon me for saying this, but it's like having an infection and not treating it, hoping it'll go away.
Welcome to the art and science of difficult conversations, where we believe when we communicate better, we live better. As always, I'm one of your co-hosts, Chris, owner of Leadership Potential, where I work with new leaders to navigate difficult and dysfunctional cultures. And as always, I'm joined with Lucie.
Thank you, Chris. My name is Lucie. I'm owner of MindFittery, mental fitness gym for leaders, their teams, and families. And I am so excited to have our guest here, Nicky Billou. Nicky, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. Looking forward to it.
And this is incredible because I think we obviously talk about difficult conversations. That's the whole point of our podcast. But I think it's interesting hearing real tales of difficult conversations from people who are doing it in such high levels, right? And somebody who's so accomplished. So Nicky is a best-selling author. He's a 2-time New York Times bestseller, and one of his books are endorsed by President Donald Trump. He hosts his own top 10 iTunes podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. And my favorite fact about him, he's a professional believer in people. Nicky, thanks for joining us today. Why don't you tell everybody your journey? What's your leadership journey?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. It's a real honor to be here. I'm originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. When I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran, and it was a cataclysmic, world-changing event. There was gun battles going on in the streets. Now, my mother and father, and my late father, God rest his soul, they could see the writing on the wall. This wasn't going to be a place to raise a Christian family anymore. So they made a plan, and they got my brothers and I out, eventually settling us where I now live in Toronto, Canada. And my parents, by making this sacrifice, made it possible for my brothers and I to go from a legacy of tyranny to a legacy of freedom. Lucie, Chris, I believe inside every human breast beats the living heart of freedom. Every woman, every man on this planet yearns to breathe free, to march to the tune of their own drummer, to chart their own course. And if you're an entrepreneur or in business, freedom is the bedrock of allowing you to make your dreams come alive. Without freedom, you can't think freely, you can't express yourself freely, you can't enterprise freely to create something. If you live in a tyrannical society, you've got to kiss the posterior of the tyrants in order to be able to breathe and survive. While when you're in a free society, my God, you can make your dreams come alive. So I've just been so grateful, because without that freedom, we don't get to do what we do. And a lot of entrepreneurs say, listen, I'm not into politics. I don't want to be into politics. I just want to do my business. You may not want to be into politics, but politics is into you. And if you want to keep doing what you're doing freely, you've got to stand up for those who stand up for you and for your freedom. Abraham Lincoln once said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We must celebrate it every single day of our lives. That is what animates me. That is what moves me. That is like the bedrock of who I am and what I'm all about. And my father was an entrepreneur. Guys, he was the greatest man I've ever known. If you met him, you would love this man. If you met him and you were looking for work, he would sit you down in his office. He would call all of his buddies who owned companies or were in high positions in government, and he would ethically manipulate them till one of them gave you a job. If you were trying to start a business, he would sit down with you and give you all his attention and give you great advice. He'd get you connected with capital, with customers, get you going. My father, he told me every day, son, everyone needs someone to believe in them. Me, you, everybody. You know, there are days when people's self-belief wobbles, and that little spark of belief you give to them can turn into a roaring fire and take their life from tragic to magic. That's why I got into the field that I did, to serve entrepreneurs, to help them live a life less ordinary. That's what it's all about.
I appreciate your story, Nicky, and I could see why you are just so renowned in the way you speak and the passion you have. That's really incredible. And I think it's interesting also that there's a common thread of your background and your immigration. Lucie is also an immigrant. My mom and her family were refugees from the Vietnam War, and my dad's an immigrant as well. So I think there's such an interesting common thread among the three of us of just kind of leaving a homeland and having a family legacy of that, which is interesting. And is your dad the reason why you were also drawn into entrepreneurship and starting your own business and running your own business?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wanted to help other entrepreneurs because I see entrepreneurs as society's greatest heroes. Because an entrepreneur dares to dream, jobs get created, innovation happens, and the human race moves forward. And so many entrepreneurs are amazing and good people, but they don't know a lot about business. They're good at what they do, but they're afraid of selling. They're afraid of marketing. They don't want to be one of those pushy salespeople. No. I don't want to recoup commission breath. But here's the problem. Without sales, you don't have a business, right? And some charlatan marketer will come and scoop up the business that you should have gotten. And the good person that needed your help won't get helped because the charlatan marketer doesn't care whether they deliver or not. If they do, it's a happy accident. The sum total of goodness in the world goes down. I got into what I do because I know business, I know marketing, and I thought, man, I got to help these people reframe this. Let's not look at it as selling because you don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold, right? Nobody wants to be sold. But don't you love being served by a caring human being, a caring advocate on your behalf? Yeah. So I tell people, reframe sales into service. Go serve people. Don't have sales calls, have service calls, have help calls. Just doing that has helped so many of my clients double, triple, quadruple, tenfold their business. Like there was one lady that we worked with. She was a functional medicine doctor. Her story is amazing. She was successful. She made 6 figures a year. But she wanted to tenfold her business and make 7 figures a year. And when I asked her why, she said, it's because I want to honor my father. She said, you see, my father is my hero, and he's dying of glioblastoma, brain cancer. And in fact, in 6 months, he'd be dead. I went to the wake. And she said, but like, I'm nervous. I don't know how to get business. I don't want to be one of these pushy people. And I said, I get that. I said, do you love your clients? She says, I absolutely adore my clients. I asked her what it meant to her when she changed someone's life through the work that she did. And she lit up. And I said, I don't want you to ever sell again, but I want you to serve people. I want you to serve people. I want you to call people and have a service call with them. I want you to have a help call with them. Man, just doing this helped her double her business 3 years in a row. She went from 6 figures a year to 6 figures a month. It's beautiful.
Did you know, a lot of what we're talking about is difficult conversations within the business. Were you prepared for the amount of conversations you'd have and navigating different personalities, different work styles with the people you worked with and partnered with?
Yeah. So I had a business partner and he and I ended up splitting up. And the truth of the matter is we had different visions of how to run the business. And for the longest time, I was avoiding having a very necessary conversation with him, which is, hey, dude, you're only spending half your time here. I'm spending all my time here. I think we need to renegotiate our pay packets, right? And when I finally did that, he exploded and he said, no way, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, we brought someone in to act as a mediator between us who had been a client of ours. And this guy really helped us get to a point where, okay, you are not seeing things eye to eye. Let's have a divorce. Let's have a split. And we worked through it. I came up with a proposal to him, and it was to pay him a certain amount of money. And we paid him that certain amount of money. It took a year to do it. Once we did it, we amicably split. And it was probably the best thing that could have happened for both of us. He went on to this other business and he loves it and he's doing great with it, et cetera, et cetera. And I kept doing what I'm doing here and without having to have someone around me whose vision was different than my own. And it's very important to have those difficult conversations because if you don't have them, they're just going to fester and then they're going to blow up. And that's not good because that's when things go the legal route. And nobody does well when things go the legal route, except the lawyers. They do well.
I'm curious, when did you start noticing that you were avoiding the conversation? Or how long did it take for you to notice that?
3 months.
So 3 months, and then it sounds like you had the courage to share.
I had to. I mean, it was bothering me every time I saw him. It just had to speak to him. So I finally said, we got to talk. Let's talk.
And then sounds like you also invited help, because it seems like the
because
conversation
he blew up
didn't
at
go.
me. He blew up at me.
Ouch.
He was mad. He didn't like the conversation. And that was one of the reasons I didn't want to have the conversation in the first place, because I thought it was going to make him angry. But it needed to be had. Don't avoid difficult conversations. Have them. And if you can't have them on your own, and you need someone to help you mediate the landscape, get someone to do that. It's worth the investment. I really believe that.
That you already had somebody. You've mentioned, I believe, your client, one of your clients was stepping into the role of mediator.
Yeah, he was good at that. He was really good at that.
For somebody who is in similar situation, what would be some tips how they could find their mediator? What might be some characteristics they want to look for?
Well, I would look for someone with experience, who's had difficult conversations and mediated them successfully. I would look into my own network first, because this is a very personal situation, and you should find someone who you can get a referral from if you can. And honestly, you usually can. But if that's not possible, you're living in the age of technology. So it's very easy to find people. Now, whether they're the right people or not, that's a different story. I can't speak to what to do with someone that you have no experience with. But I knew this guy, and I knew he had the skill set. And my partner knew him, and he liked him. So it made it easy for us to both agree to this. But if you're looking for someone, I'd look for someone with experience, with a track record of doing this, and someone who wasn't going to take sides. Because if someone takes sides, one partner or the other is not going to trust the process, and they're going to withdraw from it. So it can't be someone who's going to take sides.
How would you say your relationship changed with your ex-business partner?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I wanted us to maintain a friendship, but he didn't. So the relationship was, we don't really talk much anymore. I've seen him probably a half a dozen times, and I've spoken to him, probably 7 or 8 times. And this has been 7 years, right? So about once a year, roughly, we talk to each other. And I keep asking him, I say, listen, dude, there's no reason why we shouldn't be friends. And he said, yeah, you're right, but I'm not ready. It's 7 years in. At what point are you going to be ready? I'm going to send him a note. I mean, this is good that I'm on the show, and I'm going to tell him, I say, listen, man, when we split up, one of the things you said to me that motivated you to split up is you wanted to preserve our friendship. Well, it's been 7 years since we split up, and we don't have a friendship. I would very much like to have a friendship with you, and I'm calling you out. Was that just a load of bull? Or was that the truth? Because if it's the truth, it's been 7 years, get over it. And if it was just a load of bull, do me the courtesy of telling me it was a load of bull, and I'll move on.
Yeah. And, that's the reason why a lot of people avoid difficult conversations in the first place. They're trying to preserve whatever relationship they have, but it is a very real risk that you might lose that relationship. How did you weigh that risk as like the risk of not saying anything is much worse than losing this relationship?
If you don't have the conversation, you're destroying the relationship permanently, because the level of resentment that's going to build up on both sides will be so high that there's no coming back from that. It's, pardon me for saying this, but it's like having an infection and not treating it, hoping it'll go away,
So it sounds like the signs, just like signs for infection, there's some discomfort in the body. We can have fever, or we have pain. So I guess for somebody to know there's something off, look for some signs. What would you say would be some other signs? I'm hearing resentment. Any other signs?
Feeling uncomfortable whenever you're around the other person, feeling like you have to walk on eggshells, not having free and open discussions. Those are some key signs. Losing your temper at other people for no reason. Those are some key signs.
Ooh. Were you finding that you were taking it out on other people?
Sure, of course. Of course.
So then I'm curious, how did you, now that you have a business with your wife as your, like, what lessons have you pulled over into that? Because like the stakes are higher, I imagine, with your wife as your partner.
Well, we're not married, long-term committed partners. Let's leave it at that. But we're not married.
Yep,
So
fair enough.
Just to be clear. Listen, I'll be straight with you. We have these conversations on a daily basis. We have to. Usually things aren't so bad that they blow up. But we definitely have very different styles. She's much more methodical, much more sweet and kind than I'm a bulldozer. So, and you would think, hey, the bulldozer is the one who's like getting their way all the time. No, that's not necessarily true. It's not necessarily true. And bulldozing someone you love is not a good strategy. So it causes resentment, causes relationship breakup. But one of the things we do is we have a conversation at least once a week about what's working and what's not working. So that helps us overcome that kind of thing.
Whose idea was it to start that rhythm?
Mine.
Nice.
Are you keeping the topic separate, business versus personal? Like, this is now time for me to wear the business hat.
Yeah,
versus...
absolutely. I insist on that. Because if you let them bleed into each other, it causes problems. Causes problems. When we're on a date, no business talk. And when we're doing business, no relationship talk. It's very important to keep those two separate.
I imagine it's hard to keep that separate because, in most relationships where they aren't working together, like one of the normal parts of conversation is how is work or what's going on in your work life. So how do you maintain and ensure that separation?
Well, like you say, it's not always easy, but for me, I'm pretty vigilant about making sure that I don't allow that to happen, guys, because if it's natural to have a little bit of bleed over, okay, but if it starts to go too heavy into it, you're going to get off course. So if we're working and relationship topics come, you're not working anymore, right? You're not working. You're working on your relationship. So when we're working, we have a pretty strong agreement that we're going to stick to work stuff. Is it always happen? No, but it happens most of the time, right? Now, when we're on a date, she especially like sometimes just starts talking about work stuff. And I just say, not now. We're off the clock. This is me and you time, not work time. And she'll sometimes go, but I go, nope, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. If you need to work, take 2 more hours off, go work. I'm off now. I'm off. This is me time and us time. You want to be part of us time? Great. You don't want to be part of us time? You want to keep working? No problem. But don't include me. I'm done. And first couple times I did that, she stopped. Here's the deal. I mean, Chris, are you married? Are you in a long-term relationship?
I am married.
So, are you familiar with your wife's shit tests?
Maybe. I don't know if I've ever referred to it as such, so I don't know for sure.
That's actually a technical term in the work in the relationship work that they teach men. So I was married before I got divorced, and I learned about this. When you're married and you're in a long-term relationship, your wife is going to give you shit tests because she wants to know if you're a man of integrity. And it's not even like she's consciously thinking about it. It's just natural. It's what wives do to their husbands. She wants to know if you really mean what you say. So if you say we're only working now, she's going to test you to see if you mean that. And if you fail, i.e. if you let the conversation bleed into that, she goes, well, you're not a man of integrity, and that's bad for you and the relationship. And then if you're on a date, the shit test is going to be, okay, let me see if he's going to let me talk about work. So you got to hold the line on those things, right? And it's like that. And if you promised your wife, listen, you know what, honey, I've been a man who loses my temper. I'm not going to lose my temper at you. She's going to test you to see if you mean that. She's absolutely going to test you. And if you lose your temper, you fail the test. You fail the shit test. You fail too many shit tests, it's not good. Bad for your relationship. As a man in a long-term committed relationship, you need to be vigilant to show up a certain way for your lady. And one of them is do what you say, because your lady expects you to do what you say. 100%. Not 99% of the time, 100% of the time. That 1%, she will shove it in your face and remind you of it every chance she gets. So it's really, really important to do that. And if you're not familiar with shit tests, there's a book called The Rational Male by Rollo Tomasi. It's a big, thick book, but it will absolutely teach you how to be more effective in your relationship with your significant other, but frankly, in your relationship with all women.
So I'm hearing integrity as a very important part of any relationship.
Wouldn't you agree, Lucie? Are you in a long-term relationship?
Not right now.
Not right now, but wouldn't you agree that that's an important thing to ladies? That if a man is like not not doing what he says, even if it seems to be a little thing to him, it's really not a little thing to you.
It's connected to trust
There you
and
go.
safety, especially for women. That's
Safety.
important. Feeling safe.
See, Chris, you're hearing what she's saying? That's how they related to it. Like for us, it's, hey, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? It wasn't a big deal. It's a very big deal to them. It's a huge deal.
It is a very big deal.
That along that same line, let's say you, whether you're in the work or the personal thing, let's say your wife's bringing up a topic that's still within that realm. Are there topics or times that your wife's bringing up an issue that you're not ready to talk about, or you're not interested in talking about at the moment? How do you respond to that?
I just tell her I don't have time to talk about this right now. We'll have to talk about it later. Like if I'm in the middle of something, that's one of the shit tests, by the way, to get stuff done, is she'll say, hey, I need to talk to you about this. And I'm like, I got to get this finished. We can talk later, right? And if I don't do that, then I'll be knocked off course and I won't finish what I need to finish. And inside the business, I have certain roles that I have to fulfill on, right? And it's very, very important to make sure that, I do what I need to get done. Like I do the speaking for us. So she puts me on stages. I put myself on stages. I go on podcasts, right? And that's where a lot of business opportunities come from, right? So when there is, for example, a set of documents or forms I need to fill out and finish, I got to stay on point to do that. And she'll come to me and want an answer for a question that can wait. And I do that to her sometimes. And she'll say, I'm in the middle of something. You can't talk to me right now. I go, okay, no problem. Let me know when I can. You gotta have boundaries, right? Just because you're in a relationship with somebody doesn't mean that you can cross their boundaries. You shouldn't cross her boundaries and she shouldn't cross your boundaries.
So
that's a great way of putting that. I was going to say that's a great way of putting that.
It is,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Keeping mutually, being respectful of each other's boundaries.
Very important. Now, here's the thing, right? As much as you keep relationship and business separate, how you show up in one will affect the other and vice versa.
Yeah. Talk to us about a time when there seems to be a conflict, or not conflict, but just it bleeds over.
If we get into an argument at a personal level, the next day at work can be pretty cold.
Right. I imagine.
If we have a really beautiful time at a personal level, the next day at work can be pretty blissful, right? And if things are going badly at work, it'll affect the personal relationship. If things are going really well at work, for example, if we just had like an incredible revenue month, it's fantastic for the relationship.
How do you deal with situations when there's something bad happening? You have a conflict and it starts bleeding over to the other area. How do you recover and repair?
Sometimes you just got to let things go for a while till everything gets calm, and then you have to talk about it.
Do you have any specific ritual or something that you do at these times? Or when you talk about it, you start with something?
Well, if things are going pretty hot, the number one thing I do is I walk away. Like I don't let it escalate. If she's really like on her opinion about something, better for me not to get into an argument with her. Same with her with me. If I'm really in my opinion about something, it's better for her to just walk away. So we're pretty good about that. Not always. Sometimes we get into the arguments. But once people calm down, we can have a conversation. And the conversation usually resolves it. But the mistake is to not do that, to let it escalate. That's a mistake. We don't do that as often as we used to. It still happens sometimes, though.
Sure. I imagine it also helps that you have those weekly rhythm check-ins. So even if you do let something go, you can bring it up. It'll still be covered within like a few days or a week.
Yeah, absolutely.
What would you tell somebody that is thinking about finding a business partner? They say, I don't want to do this business by myself. I would love a partner. What are the characteristics to look for in a possible business partner?
I'd have to ask you, why do you want a partner? Do you want a partner because there's skills that you lack and you think the partner will bring? Do you want a partner because the partner brings like connections to the table, money to the table? Like you need to have good reasons for bringing on a partner because it's a marriage, right? It's a marriage. And if those reasons
Mm.
aren't strong, it won't last. And I would recommend you don't do it. But if you have good reasons to do it, like I'll tell you right now, I haven't had a partner in a long time. Would I get a partner right now? I'll tell you, I'd get a partner right now if they could bring us an unlimited supply of the right leads for our business. I'd get a partner in a minute, right? In a minute. But they need to be the right partner who's able to do that, and the deal terms need to be the correct deal terms. If that's the case, 100% I'll bring on a partner. But just to bring on a partner, nah.
Hmm.
So
You
it
got to
sounds
have
like
good reasons for it. Business reasons. Business reasons that make sense. Business is, it's an intuitive, emotional thing, right? To get connected with somebody. I agree. So that's the yin, the feminine aspect of it. But it also needs to be a logical and sensible thing that makes sense. And that's the masculine and the yang of it. The right type of partnership is composed of elements of yin and yang. The wrong type of partnership is all yin or all yang. Bad. If you're just doing it emotionally, oh, this feels good, they're such a good person, there's no rationale to it, it's going to fail. And if it's all rationale and there's not the emotional connection, it's going to fail.
so having a balance of both, it needs to feel emotionally good and also it needs to make sense business-wise.
Think about a relationship, right? Like there's a man and there's a woman, right? And there's a masculine essence and a feminine essence. If it was all masculine or all feminine, even in a gay relationship, if there were two very feminine people or two very masculine people, it would fail, right? And in a heterosexual relationship, which is most relationships, you need both elements to make the relationship beautiful and functioning.
Do you find yourself with your partner that maybe she is sometimes in the masculine, or is she mostly in the feminine when
look,
she is in business?
sometimes, but she's a very feminine lady. And I'm a believer that a feminine woman should primarily be in her feminine and a masculine man should primarily be in his masculine. That makes the best relationship. Now, in the world of work's a pretty masculine space. Let's just be honest. You can't not have any masculine and be successful at work. But if you're a feminine woman and you let the masculine dominate you, I think it's going to make you sick, very sick. I don't think that's good.
So a partnership rather than one dominating the other.
I don't think dominance is what a relationship is all about. Now, I do think, and this is politically incorrect in this day and age, but I think there needs to be a leader and there needs to be like someone who's led. And I think that's true in relationships. I'm not a believer in everyone's equal and full equality. I don't think that works. I think that's part of what in the last 60 years has destroyed the family and destroyed so many relationships. That's why there's so many darn divorces. I'll be candid. I think in a relationship between a man and a woman, and I'm talking specifically about the romantic relationship, not the business relationship, it's the man's job to be the leader, right? He's the one who should come and he's the one who should lead. And that's his job. In my relationship, when I've come to my lady, and for example, when we're trying to decide what we're going to do on date night, she wants me to say, we're going to go have dinner at this restaurant at 7:00 and I'm going to pick you up, wear this dress. She doesn't want me to say, I don't know, what do you want to do? She hates that. She hates that. Right? And I used to do that all the time because I thought that's what women want. It's the modern world. No, it's not what women want. Certainly it's not what my feminine woman wants. In business, though, there's things she's really good at that I suck at. Let's be honest, I'm not going to lead her in that. She's going to lead me. You know what I mean? And now there's things I'm really good at that she sucks at. She's not going to lead me in that. I'm going to lead her. Like, she's amazing with our clients. Like, all the one-on-one coaching for our clients, our entrepreneur clients, right? Like, we work with a lot of like thought leaders, coaches, consultants, speakers, authors, whatever. She does all the one-on-one coaching because she is over here as a one-on-one coach, like, and I'm here. Me, I do all the training, all the inspiring, because I'm up here at that and she's here. So it's a good mix, right? It's a good mix. But one-on-one, if someone, let's say you were a client, Lucie, right? And you said, okay, you know what? Last year I made $250,000. This year I want to make $1 million. And then you came in here and you were doing really good. And then all of a sudden you had a couple of things not go your way and you were feeling upset. You wouldn't want to talk to me because all I'm going to say to you is suck it up, go do it. She's going to sit down with you. She's going to feel you. She's going to really like listen in a certain way. And she's going to help you see what's in your blind spot, make you feel healed, and put you out there powerfully. And you're going to go, oh my God, that's the greatest coaching I ever got. All our coaches love her. All of them love her one-on-one. But when they need to make sales, they come to me because I help them make sales. I make sure the money comes in. Teresa makes them feel good. I make him get paid.
Nicky, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but I'm also a therapist in addition to my
Cool.
other work. To your point, it's not a surprise that most therapists are women, because it is a space where it's meant to be empathic and warm and compassionate, and not only compassionate, but it's also softer and allowing people to be in that one-to-one space and listen. And there's not as many men doing this work. So I think to your point, I think there is certain skills that people are more naturally good at.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate your call for balance. I think that's the case for any kind of relationship, business or personal. It's about balance. Like you can't have you can't have everybody in the company be just dominant people.
No,
you still need balance of people doing other things as well.
It's funny you should mention that. 2 of our clients who also do coaching are therapists, and they're both men. But they have a very strong empathetic side, and they can access that side of themselves really, really well. But yes, most of the therapists I know in real life are women, that's for sure. But both these guys are, and they're tough guys. Like one of them works with special forces people in his coaching. So like,
I believe, yeah.
And he puts on this 50-pound ruck, these rucks that dudes do rucking, and he goes rucking for 50 miles. So I'm like, dude, you're nuts, man. He said, you tried. No, man, I'll go 50 feet. Here you go. Take it back.
So then I appreciate that, even in your stories, you're showing that importance of that open communication ongoing because it's that ongoing negotiation of what are the boundaries, what are the ways we're going to work together, and what are we going to focus on? Do you feel like it would have turned out differently if you had done this rhythm of open communication with your previous partner that we were talking about? Would that have changed anything?
No, because we fundamentally disagreed on how the business needed to be run. I felt that him being there part-time, me being there full-time, and me bringing in more revenue meant that I should get paid more, and he didn't. So I don't think anything was going to change that.
Would it have changed maybe even just getting into business together from the beginning?
Nope, because at the beginning that wasn't clear to me that that's what he was going to do.
Fair.
So that comes up for me. Really, would that be part of the conversation if somebody's exploring kind of business dating for a business partner?
Sure,
that would be part of the conversations to have before making a commitment.
You're not gonna think of everything when it comes to exploration conversations. We talked about a lot of things. Certainly we could have talked about this, but I didn't even think it would be an issue, to tell you the truth, at the time. Nor did he, in all fairness. Sometimes life just has to be experienced. There is no preventing bad things. You're going to have to fall down on your bike and scrape your knee. No amount of thinking you're not going to scrape your knee is going to stop you from falling down on the bike and scraping your knee. So it's life. Get over it. You're going to hurt. You're going to go through stuff. Trying to avoid the lessons of life is only going to make God laugh at you.
It sounds like there's a win all the time, because if we don't succeed, at least we win. We get a lesson. We learn.
You learn, yeah, 100%.
That's powerful. I saw a quote recently that said the same thing. There's some things in life that only experience can teach you.
So for anybody that wants to wait till they are fully prepared for having the difficult conversation, that might mean maybe sometimes it's better to have the conversation and learn from that experience rather than wait and
I don't
delay.
think a parent of a child would say, I'm going to fully prepare my child before I teach him to walk. No, man, you just send him out there to walk. You know, you're not going to fully prepare yourself for your first kiss. You just have to have your first kiss.
Yeah. We'll put that as the slogan for today's episode.
That's a good one.
I had the thought and I forgot it. I got distracted with the kids, I guess, and the slogan about the sales, which is a difficult conversation for a lot of people that are very passionate about what they're doing, especially if they have the empathy and maybe they feel, I don't want to be bothering people, I don't want to be salesy. what would be something that would help them to, sounds like rather than being prepared to have the perfect sales conversation, just go for it and learn from that? What would be your advice on that?
I think I said this at the beginning of the interview. Look at it as love. Look at it as service and not as sales. Take the attention off you and put it on them. That's the first thing you got to always learn. When people go into conversations, right, they're thinking, I hope they're going to like me. I hope they're going to buy from me. Please, please, please like me. And they're like freaking out. And people can feel that, right? They're going to go, something's off here and it's not good. What you should be thinking is, I wonder what Lucie's dealing with in her life, in her business. Is she able to make enough money to take care of the people she loves, right? I wonder how she feels about herself. What's her self-concept like? Does she believe in herself, or is she like doubting herself? And I wonder if I can help her. If I'm the right person to lead her out of pain and suffering and into joy. And if you're thinking like that, people will pick that up too, and they're going to love that. They're not even going to know why, but they're going to go, man, Lucie's amazing. That's good. Let's go. Let's talk to her. Let's work with her. That's how you got to think. The first thing about being a heart-driven person is your entire focus in any business interaction should be on helping the person in front of you and not helping your commission. Your commission will take care of itself if it's the right thing to do. It really will. Look, Chris, let's just say you and I were talking. Let's just say you said, you know what, Nicky, yeah, you sound like you might be able to help me with my business. I want to make $1 million in my practice. I don't want to make 250,000 anymore. All you're going to want from me is you're going to want me to be intensely curious about you and your situation and why you're there in this situation. And the more curiosity I show, the more you're going to go, wow, this guy's a real good guy. He's trying to understand me. And he seems to know how to ask the right questions, so I think he knows what he's doing. While if all I say the entire time is, well, Chris, this is great. You should buy from me. You should work with me. Come on, Chris, let's go, let's go, let's go. You're going to want to run for the freaking hills. You know what I mean? And the truth of the matter is, like, when I meet with people and I offer to have a conversation with them, all I'm interested in is I want to know, tell me about your business. Tell me what you're doing. Tell me what's not working. And then tell me why you think it's not working. And what's the impact of it not working on you, on your health, on your self-concept, on the people you love, on your relationships with the people you love? Do you stay up at night running worry movies through your head, right? Or, are you good? And the clearer I can become on this, the clearer you will become on it for yourself. And if you're at a point where you go, oh my God, like this is impacting me, and I'm just kind of like, this is like the difficult conversation, right? I'm just like not wanting to look at it. This guy's making me look at it. You should thank that guy, because you looking at it is what's going to solve it. If you won't look at it, you'll never solve it. You'll never solve it. It'll just get worse and worse and worse until it breaks you.
So you're helping people to have the difficult conversations with themselves.
Honestly, it's the truth. It's the truth. So one of these folks who works with us, who's a therapist, marriage and family therapist, business coach for special forces. When he came to see us, he had never had to go out and get a client ever in his life, because he had been in a position where they had all come to him for a variety of reasons that all changed. He had to go out and get clients, and he was not used to it. You know what I mean? So he just didn't know how to do it, didn't want to approach people, blah, 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 right? And I just asked him, I said, why are you in business? And he said to me, I want FU money. You guys ever heard the term FU money before? FU money. I want FU money. He says, what's FU money going to do for you? He said, it's going to let me help people at a higher level, and it's going to let me take care of myself. That's what I need to do. I go, all right, that sounds good. What's getting in the way? He says, I don't know how to do it. I've never sold before. And what's that make you feel? He said, I feel like a loser. I don't want to tell anybody this, but I feel like a loser. I'm like, okay, how does that make you feel, feeling like a loser? He says, well, I don't have self-confidence in myself. I don't think I can do it. I said, is this keeping you up at night? He goes, well, yeah. Sometimes I stay up at night wondering how the heck I'm going to solve this problem. And I said, is it affecting your health? He goes, yeah, I don't sleep. I'm like, all right. I said, how ready are you to solve this? Like, you want to solve it now? Can this keep going for another 6 months? He goes, no, I want to solve it now. I said, okay. I looked him in the eye and I said, dude, you need somebody who is going to push you out of your comfort zone and make you a sales ninja. Because you don't know how to do this and you need to learn how to do it quick. Do you agree? He goes, yeah, I agree. And I said, if you do this, then you're going to have money. You're not going to like stay up at night. And your health's going to be good. And, you know, you're going to get to the FU money stage. He goes, yeah. He said, okay, I'm in. I'm going to do it. I said, great. I got a program. It's a 12-week sales accountability program. We'll teach you how to sell. We'll teach you how to overcome objections. And we'll hold your feet to the fire so you don't back off. Because you're going to want to back off because you've never done this before and you're scared of it. And he said, yeah, okay. I said, all right, you ready? You ready to never need to worry about this again? He goes, yeah. He jumped in. That's how I got this therapist to like start thinking of himself as a humanitarian who's of service to his fellow man. And being of service means having conversations and asking people to work with them. That's it. And then when you ask them to work with them, you give them a price tag. That's all.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
What I think is incredible about that approach is you're accessing the deep emotions, right? And people make decisions emotionally. That's how we all make decisions is emotionally.
Absolutely.
And by accessing that, you're and by showing that you're not afraid to ask about that either. You're not afraid to dive deeper and to understand and to go to those hard topics. That in itself is that demonstration of this person cares, this person is invested in me because this person, man or woman, is asking about this and wants to know about this and intently listening to what I'm saying about this.
Yes, 100%.
Sounds like it's also connected to their values. If their passion, their strength is, or value is helping others, supporting others, then it sounds like you reframed it in a way that this is the act of service, supporting others when you are selling. Rather than as a selfish act, it's an act of giving.
Yeah, we want to help the good people. There's plenty of not so good people out there. We're not interested in helping them. We want to help the good people. Good people deserve to win because they care and they make a difference for other people. They just sometimes forget to include themselves in that. You know what I mean? They just forget to include themselves in that. And I think you should be included. Chris, you deserve to be as successful as you want to be. And Lucie, you too. You probably deserve more because you probably aren't dreaming big enough.
That's absolutely. I was working with the owner of a landscaping company last week, and I asked him, like, what are you hoping to make? He's like, I'm just hoping to make like $500 a week. And this is the owner of the company making $1 million in revenue. I'm like, you need to dream bigger than this. This is like
a lot bigger, man.
It's like because he's so in survival mode. Like all he's thinking is like, I just want to like pay the bills, like bare minimum. But yeah, I think that's a powerful sentiment. Is thinking about we deserve things too, and we're of worth. We're all of worth people.
You deserve to live a life where you thrive in every sense of the word, financially, emotionally, intellectually, from a point of view of joy. You deserve to thrive.
Nicky, let's imagine that somebody turned on this episode and randomly just fast forwarded to this point in the episode. What are 1 to 2 big takeaways that you hope that they take away from this?
If you're not fully believing in yourself right now, if you're living in doubt, find someone who sees you for the greatness that you are. And if you don't have anybody like that in your life, reach out to me and say, hey, I heard you on this podcast. I hear you're a professional believer in people. I need someone to believe in me, and I'll believe in you. It's a free call. That's
do they reach
the biggest thing. eCircleacademy.com/appointment. That's how you get on my calendar. And secondly, you have an authentic voice, and that voice, you've probably been stifling it for a long time because you don't think that people want to hear who you really are or see who you really are. You're actually afraid that if they do, they're going to run. And I'm here to tell you that's bullcrap. Who you really are is so incredible and so magnetic at the highest level. Myself and my lady, we've been developing a tool around helping you see that. It's a based on the work of Carl Jung. And it's an assessment tool that shows you your business brand archetypes based on Carl Jung's, human archetypes.
Mm-hmm.
Because understanding this will allow you to communicate in your authentic voice and will attract those people who are like you and want to hear that voice. And I don't have a link for you yet, but we're going to have one really, really shortly. And if you're interested in taking this assessment, reach out to me. It's a free assessment. It's very powerful, very, very powerful. Completely change your life. It's a whole different interview we could do just about this one time, and we'll bring the assessment and have you guys do it. It'll be great. But I really think people need someone to believe in them, and they need to know who they really are. That'll change their life.
That's awesome. So again, tell people how they can reach you. Let's say they're like, I want to learn more about what this guy's doing, his work, and maybe even work with you. How can they find out about you?
Yeah, book some time on my calendar at ecircleacademy.com/appointment. And I'm the only Nicky Billou on the planet, man. You just type in Nicky Billou, NICKYBILLOU. I'm everywhere. Just, podcast, books, social media, it's all there.
Awesome. Can I just say I'm really jealous of people whose names are so unique because I have such a generic name that it's hard to just stand out. So I'm really jealous. Good. I'm glad you're the only one on the planet.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that.
Nicky, this was truly an inspiring and thoughtful discussion. I really appreciate you being here and sharing your experiences and just being open and honest and vulnerable. I think that's hard for a lot of people. So I appreciate you sharing your experiences.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Nicky, really, for joining us. And I also noticed how your energy shifted. At the beginning of our interview, you were in the yang energy, kind of powered up, very inspiring. And then you shifted also into a softer version, it sounds like.
Well, staying at yang for an hour conversation is kind of nuts.
A lot.
I think the energy's got to ebb. It's got to flow a few times because there's questions that require a thoughtful answer and not a high energy answer.
So thank you for being flexible and for really
of course.
sharing with us and our audience.